on the amended section, which is the, okay, if you look at the clause, yeah, sorry, the Attorney General is not here to explain, but it is in terms of the structure and the relativity of the different provisions or related provisions here, to take into account what procedurally and we've got to be guided by. Unfortunately, fortunately, the amendment of clause 3, if we can start again, the amendment to clause 3 is in the definition of building, paragraph C, by substituting building that does not include traditional structures. Yeah, that one, all right, okay. Then, which relate to the national building codes. Building codes, section C, subsection C of section 3, clause 3. So if we dispose of that, what you're saying is how do we, yeah, to refer it back, the amendment to the advisory committee, or delete, sorry, Honorable Attorney General.
The Chairman, just for clarity, now that we have the Attorney General here, in terms of procedure, the amendment as contained in the notice issued by the Minister, spot on. The title, time we change him from advisory committee go to advisory board, by later on in the bill, when we get to that, then him say wherever it appears, it is now advisory board, not advisory committee. So I'm happy with that. That's fine. Sorry. But I'm curing all of it right throughout the bill, so no problem there. My issue is we're in clause 3, and you mean passing first amendment, straight na, you know what that one. But then you say, okay, you mean passing clause 3 as amended, but advisory committee inside yet. Because by you mean amend them until we get that blanket amendment for changing right throughout the bill later on. I'm just asking you in terms of procedure. To my simple mind, it's better to amend it right through at each clause now, so that it's cured as we go along. So Taimimi is a clause 3 as amended, yes, but yes, yeah, I'm including committee yet, yeah, not board, until we get to that later amendment. So in terms of process, we could say, yeah, no problem, you go Taimimi go pass him or narawane, and just come cure more. Vote blue me doing first time. Vote first time and little bit was negative.
Thank you. So the advisory committee amendment to that reference to the advisory board, right? You take a vote on that so that when you reconsider clause 3, especially when it comes to subsection C, because you already amended that definition of advisory committee, or delete the advisory committee and instead put the advisory board on it. So when do we take the question of substituting the advisory committee with the advisory board?
What I'm saying, Chairman, is we do that right up front.
Okay.
Then as we go along, I'm consistent right through, rather than you may wait for middle or same, then he come back.
So
but let's have some a more learned view. Thanks.
Yes. So if an amendment motion could be moved to amend and substitute the advisory committee with the advisory board, right? So that we take a vote on that, and from there on, everything can flow with them, that amendment. Sorry, Attorney General, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me just have a quick look at 21. Okay, so basically, the amendment we'll be doing now is just to the definition part no more. So once we get to the advisory board, we'll also deal with that amendment as we go. This one, basically, we'll start to say what time we first clause, change him, we go to next one, next clause. So once we get to the end and then we vote for the full bill, then him change him, you say him cover him go full but as it is now, we go just by what not clause or solution here is the definition. So interpretation part here, no more you may amend the first time. Then you may go next one. You move go to next one. Once you get to this one, clause 21. 1A, yeah, once you amend him there, him automatic, basically, you may just, as you tell him, you may rectify him come back definition here no more. So, we can go on as it is now, and there's no, there's no harm in or any wrong for me follow him, because it's still the parts, or removing parts here, so let's say, for want of a word. It's just the moving parts that we are trying to fix now. Once we fix everyone, then him become awesome at the end. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Attorney General. Thank you for the explanation. That still remains here. The amendment is to be adopted is to do with the deletion of definition, not definition, but the advisory committee, yeah, with the advisory board. That has to be voted on first, and from there on, yeah, any amendment that happens thereafter, including the clause 3, would have automatically already taken on board the deletion or substitution of the advisory committee to the advisory board. Sorry for the confusion, but let's take a vote. Sorry, Chairman, Bills Committee.
Thank you, Chairman. That, to my memory, by you consistent na, Chairman, because by you mean no ko by kima, you may come through the clause 3, you may go now. But this one advisory board, yeah, if you may not wait him now, but you may come back to him the clause 3, because him no clause 3 too. So how merit him, Chairman? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable.
Chairman, no, I think you may follow advice of the learned Attorney General. But next time, we're not doing permission. Time you may, the earliest something also may appear whereby I'm affecting the rest of the bill, or put them on first instance here, now make him straight. But now, you may take cognizance, take notice of the fact that this is going to happen for clause 21, and will cure wherever advisory committee appears to become advisory board. So if also you know proceed as you propose to do, for you may amend them this time. So you may pass him go clause 3 as amended. First amendment you pass him in.
And we'll come back to that when we come to clause
21. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so with reference to that delete reference to delete advisory committee, and in its stead substitute with advisory board. That's to take into account that for us not to be repetitive when it comes to section 21, but if I can move a motion that reference, and you have to advise here, Honorable Attorney General, the reference to the advisory committee, whether that's the right word to use it, but we can also say instead of or delete advisory committee, and instead you substitute it with advisory board. Then move a motion that this amendment be taken on board. Then thereafter, you vote on the amended clause 3 vote on the clause 3 as amended. That would have already taken into account the amendment to the reference of the advisory committee, and instead of it have the advisory board. I'm okay. So I put a question. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I think you can still vote on the amendments as it is, because as it is now, you start to go first clause now, clause 21 or whatever. We have not got any effect yet this time. So you may start straighten from here, then you may move go. So once you may straighten on here, once you get to that part we have referred to that one, you may have to start to follow on this one. So it's not that we have to go there first time for you may straighten this one. You may start here, you may straighten go now. So now we're on clause 3. Clause 4 still hasn't been, it's not still yet part of a bill. So the bill is just a draft document. So once we start vote on clause 3, which includes the new definition, which is just the definition that we are amending here. So it means, for example, appointed member is a member of the advisory board. So once we get to the board, you may straighten there, definition of straight now. So we can still vote on the amendment as it is now. We don't need to also not to be pedantic, but we just trying to, you say, starting here, you may start them, then you move go to the next one, finish, then go to the next one, because as it is now, clause 4 is still not part of a bill. Only 1, 2, and 3 become normal, you vote to him. So this one is part of the bill, now say me move go to the next one. Then vote him. As soon as we get to 21, we correctly follow definition here, then the definition becomes operative because 21 is now corrected. So you move to vote him. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Attorney General. Honorable Leader.
Just stick with your notes as original, then you may go. 21 now, but Kyorem come.
But we cannot amend, we cannot do that unless you amend clause 3. Clause 3 is not entirely amended yet because of the substitution.
Correct.
That is what is not yet voted on.
Correct, but what the Honorable Attorney General is saying is when we get to clause 21, Baham amendem kam kasimo clause 3 on that score, on that point.
So if you go kasim clause 21 and come back amendem clause 3.
Yeah, no, so one of less but for now it doesn't do any harm. It just is a little, cumbersome. That's all. We mustn't repeat this later, but the outcome will still be a
okay. So we will not vote on clause 3 as yet.
No, we vote
as amended. That was the question that I asked today, that clause 3 is stand amended. And pass finish.
You may vote law amendment here?
Yeah.
Law definition, law C, law building. So that's the only amendment so far. Let me come to clause 3. So the next question is clause 3 as amended. You may not deal with him advisory committee to become advisory board. Now you will leave him go now. So it's clause 3 as amended.
Come back to 21, then this will feature.
And you just come back on Mataya.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, Honorable Attorney General.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So for at the moment now, we may just deal with the normal definition of appointed member. So the meaning of appointed member means this one. So that meaning won't have any meaning until you discuss lo that all section then you straight then bahan straight come now. So it's basically we're not actually amending that section as per se. We are actually amending the definition of that particular phrase or word. You get it? Yeah, Mr. Chairman?
Okay, so before I put a question in respect of clause 3, does any member wish to comment on that clause as amended? Okay, those in favor say aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Clause 3 as amended stand part of the bill. Clause 4. Does any member wish to comment on this clause before I put the question? If there is none, I will put the question, and the question is that Honourable MP for Central Honiara.
Thank you, Chair. Nothing to do on any amendment, but just a question normal on the objective or the purpose of the Act. I'm really impressed with the way that it is drafted here, but as you know, side law building or law property development, it also relates to real estate economy, the real estate economy. Minister Noma, what do you think about having that as an objective or the purpose of the Act to promote development in the real estate economy as part of the objective of this bill? Because ultimately, when you set the standard, you set the development standard there. That babayan relate to land property development, which is the core aspect of any real estate economy. Do you see that as something that can add value to the way that this kind of a legislation should be structured? I have a small question. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. That
Thank you.
question does not relate to this particular clause. I'm going to call it to vote.
Sorry, what do you say? Clause 4?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's all about the objective. Me ask about that one more.
Okay, Honourable
whether that
Minister.
can be one aspect of the objective or the purpose of the Act. Because
Honourable
there are other issues there. For instance, making sure that we avoid the risk of climate change related risk, something or something. So, just in asking Minister Nomar, do you foresee this as something that can add value to the purpose of this legislation? If I'm saying Nomar, I'm said to Chairman.
No, thank you. We will ask the Minister.
Yeah, sure. I think you should give him the chance.
Clause 4.
Yeah.
Clause 4 is quite a lengthy clause, and those issues that you raised are within that. So the Minister will respond on the comment that you just raised. It's not related to clause 4. That's true.
Yeah,
So
and I'm saying that it is not in there. It is not in there.
Okay.
And what's the Minister's reaction or take on this?
That is
Do you
not in
think
there.
that it is not there?
Okay.
Yeah.
Honourable Minister.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, the leader of the member of Parliament for Honiara, Central Honiara. So the purpose of the Act, mainly if you look at A, covers almost everything. So when you say construction of buildings, it everything from real estate to commercial to residential, schools, market. So basically, the definition of building is also within the Act. So hem cover everything. And yes, we definitely want to capture the growing the market of real estate. So that time when we say building, hem cover everything. So that's
Thank you. And with that response, let me put the question. The question is that clause 4 stand part of the bill. Those in favor, say aye. Those against, say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Clause 4, therefore, stand part of the bill. Clause 5, any member wish to comment on this clause before I put the question? Clause 5. Thank you. I see none. I will therefore put the question. The question is that clause 5 stand part of the bill. Those in favor? Thank you. The ayes have it. But this is going to, the process is all the way to clause 8. These are simple, no need for any comment. So clause 8, clause 6 to clause 7. Okay, we voted on clause 5. Clause 6, does any member wish to comment on that clause? Thank you. If there's none, let me put the question. The question is that clause 6 stand part of the bill. Thank you. The ayes have it. Clause 6 therefore stands part of the bill. Clause 7, does any member wish to comment on this clause 7, on clause 7? If none, I will put the question. The question is that clause 7 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Clause 7 therefore stands part of the bill. Honourable members, there is an amendment in the next clause, that is clause 8. An amendment proposed in this clause has appeared in the business paper number 52. And I ask the minister to move the amendment. Minister, please. Clause 8.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sir, I move that clause 8 is amended in sub-clause 8.1 by deleting before or. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Honourable members, before I put the question, does any member wish to comment on this amendment as proposed by the Minister in his comments? Any questions on that amendment? Thank you. If there is none, I will now put the question. The question is that clause 8 as amended in clause 8.1 by deleting before or. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Clause 8 therefore stands amended accordingly. Before I put the question in respect of clause 8, does any member wish to comment on that clause as amended? Thank you. If there is none, let me now put the question. The question is that clause 8 as amended stand part of the bill. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it. Ayes have it. Clause 8 as amended therefore stands part of the bill. Clause 9, does any member wish to comment on this clause before I put the question? If there is none, let me put the question. And the question is that clause 9 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Clause 9 therefore stands part of the bill. Clause 10, does any member wish to comment on this clause before I put the question? If there is none, I'm going to put the question, and the question is that clause 10 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say aye. Thank you. Clause 10 therefore stands part of the bill. Clause 11, does any member wish to comment on this clause? If there is none, let me put the question. The question is that clause 11 stands part of the bill. Those in favor, please say aye. Again say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Clause 11 therefore stands part of the bill. Clause 12, does any member wish to comment on this clause before I put the question? Thank you. If there is none, let me put the question. The question is that clause 12 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Clause 12 therefore stands part of the bill. Next clause is clause 13. Does any member wish to comment on this clause? If there is none, I'm going to put the question. The question is that clause 13 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Clause 13 therefore stands part of the bill. Clause 14. Does any member wish to comment on this clause? I see none. I will therefore put the question. The question is that clause 14 stands part of the bill. Those in favor, please say aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Clause 14 therefore stands part of the bill. Clause 15, honourable members, there is an amendment proposed to this clause as appeared on business paper number 52, and ask the Minister to move the amendment. Honourable Minister, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Sir, I move that clause 15(2)(b) is amended by substituting work experience with work experience or have at least 10 years work experience. Mr. Chairman, this is in response to the recommendation made by the Bills and Legislative Committee, especially for those who are in the practice but don't have any formal qualifications. However, having experience can qualify them to have license, be known as licensed builders. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Before I put the question, does any member wish to comment on this amendment? Thank you, Honourable Chair of the Bills and Legislation Committee and MP for West Arare.
Thank you, Chairman. Me like for thank you, my Minister. Let me respond most of recommendations from my committee, and me like for happy lo him no because him no first chance for me take this opportunity to thank the Minister and the technical experts for look saving law of the recommendations of the committee. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Honourable Member for West Arare. Any other comments on that amendment? If I put the question, and if there is none, I'm going to put the question, and the question is that clause 15(2)(b) is amended by substituting work experience with work experience or have at least 10 years work experience. All those in favor say aye. All those against say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Clause 15 therefore stands amended accordingly. And before I put the question in respect of clause 15, does any member wish to comment on the clause as amended? Thank you. If there is none, let me put the question. And the question is that clause 15 as amended stand part of the bill. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Clause 15 as amended therefore stand part of the bill. Clause 16, does any member wish to comment on this clause before I put the question? Thank you, Honourable MP for West Arare.
Thank you. Small clarification no committee by the Minister. Clause 16(2), second line, all things, me surrender all things. Make the Minister himself clarify. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Chairman of the BLC. Thank you, Chairman. All things there, and basically mean all things related to his or her work as the authorized officer.
Thank you. Any further comments on the clause? If not, I'm going to put the question, and the question is that clause 16 stand part of the bill. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Clause 16 therefore stands part of the bill. Clause 17, honourable members, there is an amendment proposed to this clause as appeared on the business paper, paper number 52. And again, I'll ask the Minister to move the amendment. Please, Minister.
Thank you, Chairman, sir. I move that clause 17 is amended as following. A. In clause 17(1), at the reference to maximum penalty, substitute 20,000 units with 50,000 units. And B, in clause 17(2), 3 and 5 and 6, at the reference to maximum penalty, substitute 50,000 units with 150,000 and 10 years with 15 years. This is also, Chairman, is in response to the comments made by the BLC committee in increasing the penalties. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Honourable members, before I put the question, does any member wish to comment on this amendment? Thank you. If there is none, let me put the question. The question is that clause 17 is amended as follows. In clause 17.1, at the reference to maximum penalties, substitute 20,000 with 50,000, and in clause B, 17.2, section 17, subsection 2, subsection 3, subsection 5 and 6, at the reference to maximum penalties, substitute 50,000 with 150,000 and 10 years with 15 years. All those in favor, say aye. Those against, say no. I think ayes have it. The ayes have it. Clause 17, therefore, stands amended accordingly. Then before I put the question in respect of clause 17, does any member wish to comment on that clause as amended? Again, if there's none, let me put the question. The question is that clause 17 as amended stand part of the bill. Those in favor, say aye. Those against, say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Clause 17 as amended, therefore stand part of the bill. Clause 18, honourable members, there is an amendment also proposed to this clause as appeared on the business paper number 52. And again, let me ask the Honourable Minister to move the amendment. Honourable Minister, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sir, I move that clause 18 is amended in sub-clause 18.1 by substituting Minister May with Minister May on the advice of the advisory board. This is also a recommendation based on a recommendation from the committee to try and as much limit the powers of the minister. So before this amendment, it was the minister can or may direct a planning and development board and authorize officers to follow and to carry out stuff. But now, it can only be done. It can only be done based on the advice of the advisory board. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Honourable members, before I put the question, does any member wish to comment on this amendment? Thank you, Honourable Leader of Opposition.
There is another recommendation by the Bills and Legislation Committee that what was to the effect that powers below Chief Building Inspector now you may increase him so that him now do more something. If that was the case, then him or her being a technical expert, we hope, can order these kinds of things that the minister can order under 1A and B or C, D, E. If had that, and I know that particular recommendation wasn't taken on board, had that been taken, then the minister's power would then be streamlined to other matters, no, basically standard setting matters where him act on the advice of the board. But as it is, him still must act on the advice of the board in ordering those things, directing those things. The issue here will be if the board is unable for some reason to meet in time so that give him go now that for technical or that advice under this full amendment so that minister can then direct. If they are unable for some reason to give that advice, then minister cannot exercise into this for power. And that's why there was that other recommendation that perhaps that kind of powers of same should go to Chief Building Inspector. Because the justification used by the ministry was that, say, for instance, time or natural disaster or a building collapse or earthquake, and the need for go inspect them, and then, of course, inquiry go molohem for find them liability and so forth. Well, those are matters. The committee felt the Chief Building Inspector would be far more technically competent to direct. But in any case, as it is, the ministry has made a policy choice that power any staff law minister on acting on the advice of the board, just to so that the committee did consider both sides of that question. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Honourable Leader of Opposition. Any comments, Honourable Minister?
Thank you, Leader of Opposition. Thank you, Chairman. Yes, so we took that on board. We heard that the committee. However, fear is that no good Chief Building Inspector in a case, for example, where him na man for demand efficiencies. that one more another problem. So that's why we had to at least put the power onto the board. The board is now with the composition in the further amendments down the track. Before changing more, it will be more technical. And also the board has the power to create subcommittees more where focus more on a specific field, like say fire. We can create subcommittees based on that field, mechanical, based on that field. So me like for giving power to the chief inspector, but me fear him now as the chairman of BLC, as I always say, fish and chips party. No, with him more to put fish and chips lem, make him authorize no more karake, then become risky. That's why we limit the powers of the minister, but at the same time leave it with the board. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Chair of Bills and Legislation Committee.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Minister, for that perspective, individually. Now, you take a go back collective power and decision, something where you meet the trouble waiting too. And so let's pick it up from there and then build more. It was the way we do things as me understanding law system, but then him let it come go overhand. And so going back to the collective decision, the power in the board, and then if that take him there, hopefully we'll build our technical people to be responsible and make decisions where him for country blame. But I thank Minister for that choice. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Honorable Chair of Bills and Legislation Committee. Any further comments? Sorry, Honorable MP for East Harare.
Thank you, Chair. Just perhaps for policy clarification in terms of the use of only advice as opposed to, say, in consultation with. What was the choice, if that was a choice at all? And because later on, when we come to part 4, Chair, you will see the functions of the advisory board there. And really, just to talk about whether a consultation takes into account this advice of the advisory board, or was there a deliberate choice to put it worded this way? That one now, if Minister Sabe clear him, explain him, come back. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you. Yes, thank you, Member for East Harare, for very important point raised. Yes, the reason why we stick with advice is because we are getting advice from a technical body, that's the advisory board, as opposed to consulting them. So the board can consult its subcommittees, and then from those the consultations, him advising one minister, and that's the only reason why we put to motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Attorney General.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just in addition to what Minister Hamtalim, choice of words, it's also on the nature of what is being exercised here. Especially on this one, as Minister Hamtalim, it's more of a technical, professional nature. Whereas when you put in the words in consultation with, you want to maintain the discretion of the person exercising that power. In this case, usually minister retaining that fella discretionary power. But in this case, because it's a very technical nature of thing why he address it, that's why he is on the advice, so he must triggered by that technical specialist body before Minister himself make him directions. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Attorney General. Honorable MP for Central Honiara.
Thank you, Sir, and thank you for that explanation, AG. But again, that I'm really leaving to the discretion of Minister Moya on the advice of the committee, but the minister may not take that advice. How do you see that? That's a very critical area, that the minister sometimes, may not take those very, very important technical advice from the advisory board. So why now, we still maintain the choice of the discretionary term here, may. Can we make it, compulsory for the minister to take that advice, or do you think that, we should just leave it to his discretion? Thank you. Chair.
Thank you, Honorable MP for Central Honiara. Honorable Minister.
Yes, so we thank you, MP for Central Honia. That one, what you said there, we raised it with the AG chamber, and or the legal draft president say the mayor. So that's why we do that. So I'll let the AG explain a bit more on the technical matters. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Sorry, Honorable MP for Central
We have the
Honiara.
AG to, can we have the AG to explain the difference of that choice, the choice on the voids here, where it really compels the minister, to act on that particular advice, or, he can really exercise a discretion simply because of the terms that we are using over there. This is a very critical issue, especially legislative development here. So, AG perhaps, why not Sal? We are still using that mail over there.
Thank you, Honorable Attorney General.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, MP for Central Honiara, for that question. Now, if you look at the wording below section 18, what first I'm doing is the trigger for the exercise of that power by the minister must be on the advice. He cannot go and act the first time. So it must be triggered by that advice. Now, time advice come in, then him act on that advice, or he cannot do nothing. Okay, so that's also the wording. But he can't just go and direct Seleva no more. Before him doing any direction, that fella trigger him advisory board before him start doing. Now, when he does do it, A, B, C, D, E, him say limit him now the ambit of what him say exercising, especially in accordance with that advice. So him cannot go over him too. This all ambit. So the territory below him say 4 walls for exercising of his powers are governed by what are subsections and paragraphs and sub-paragraphs law. That's all clause here too. Okay, now then you would see that there are also some safeguards, if you look into the bill, where him shown that authorized officers has to act in certain ways too. So if you not act in a certain way, you are also held liable. So it's not that him exercised in isolation of any four corners for him exercising with powers. There are territories or boundaries where him exercising and how far him go. Thank you.
Honorable Attorney General.
Thank you.
If you Central Honiara.
Yeah, if you look at the functions where enumerated in alphabetical order, A, B, C, come down, they're very technical areas here. And normally, if you rely on Minister na for assessing more and then triggering some kind of a review, law the matters, by Minister, I don't think it is within the competence of Minister for him doing it. Those are very highly technical matters here. So what I'm saying here is that if the Minister has to be triggered on the advisory board on those very technical matters here, these are very, very critical matters here. So you look those functions here, enumerated A, B, C, D, Kasemlo D. The use and the choice of the voids number, where if it is technically of high significance and of high risk, why you should put it at a discretionary level by the use of those terms, may, why should it be, use some very, very compelling terms for Minister must act now? Because it's a matter of life or death here. So we should look at the standards where the board must act and to advise the Minister them no more. But me take a point AG, maybe the other functions down the line by some of the technical matters here, but by come out more prominent. But this is the exercise of discretion power below Minister. The Minister can give those directions. So why not you use him so lightly? I've seen this in a lot of legislation where you passed here. And ministers have always been abusing them, I must say. Yeah? I'm not saying that something, but they are always subject to the issues of integrity and governance belong over the institutions. Yeah. So, I'm no more point where me like raising. Yeah? Why is it that we don't decide to compel the minister to comply with the more advice belong board here? Was it not? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Attorney General.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, MP for that question. Now, you will see that inside law section clause 18 here, him basically minister him step in for him tell him board or authorized officer for must go doing certain something. Now you will see how A, B, C, and D, and E are couched. The words they use is like a positive reinforcement of doing something, enforcing act there. So the direct is for go you direct him for go must do wakabl him now. Or say him now one close him say. So basically for one, A is that he must direct him either board there, planning board there, provincial director planning and development board, or an authorized officer for one, that he must go check him that all building law there, and for make sure, for whether him comply with him act or not. Not for stopping for him not go check him, but for him say you must go direct. So the directive is for him go check him building if or not doing wakablo. B, him say that for inspection must go carried out logisala place here for some whether actor him complied with. So and C, same too, same you go inspecting no building. It's a positive reinforcement of our power. And now when him this section him doing. So that's the advice. So the planning board will say you minister like you direct him authorized officer and then for go what must go do wakablo. Mr. Andalo Act, they have the powers to do it as well. They can act on that. So basically this clause is about. It's not saying that the minister can stop something for being for something to happen no more. Him say this power is for you must forcing water for what must comply with him act. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Leader of Opposition.
I err on the side of Chairman Blongo, Public Accounts, Member Blow Central Honera. When we, in our legislations, we may look in this term, acting on the advice of the board, the principal, am compelled to act, am not leaving more any discretion. And I think there is good reason for that. Same reason when Minister tell him today, fried him fish and chips, so I'm not like give him a power, go to chief building inspector, because I'm one man no more. Give him go to board because of what's stuck. For same reason too, I'm apply for minister too, yeah? So let's say, for example, one of our high story building collapsed, or earthquake, but it was shoddy construction or it not compliant within building standards. Then advisory board, him make him analysis for him and tender him advice for him. But then the minister, because this was mayor, him got an option of ignoring that advice, and he duly ignores it because fish and chips. Or said, we want to eliminate this fish and chips here, which something a minister like doing must out in fish and chips from every something here. I think it would add value from a policy angle to make sure the minister on these matters, these are technical matters, but on these matters, the minister shall, acting on the advice of the advisory board, sabi direct him over or him direct, sabi mo, him direct him over. That would be a much more preferable policy position. I would urge the minister to consider that, in which case you move on our amendment, you may out in the word may, and you put shall, or this time you are using new word now, must. But long before law, put shall always. That I think that would be an improvement on this particular proposal, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Honorable Leader of Opposition. Before any comments, Honorable Attorney General, I'll come back to you. PG? Sorry. Okay. Let me just welcome, but because the point of concern raised by... All right. Okay.
Take the steps.
Thank you, Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Leader of Opposition, for those comments. Yes, so the Ministry definitely does want to limit the powers of the Minister. Also, before electorate will limit him to power of everyone other, like the Chief Building Inspector. And in this case, before electorate will limit him to power law the board there. Like if the board have given, like in this case example, the board not give chips for the whole board. They're not instruct the Minister for mass doing something here, follow advice over there. Then there won't even got a problem. We had a lengthy discussion about this, but no one will stick to no law may. The functions of the board are still in the Act under section part 4, subsection 20, where him basically listing the functions and roles of the board. But in this case, we will decide to stick for just for balancing out a little bit, because we have fried him, not only the Chief Inspector, but in certain cases, the board have been enticed to advise the Minister on a certain thing. So that's why the Minister can then, if need be, seek other advices before he make a decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister.
Chairman, I understand, I hear what the Minister is saying, but when you have a board, and you look close 21 composition of board there, if by fish and chips every man of board there, also you may outimoget, you may put them no Archbishop lo Anglican, Archbishop lo Catholic, Bishop lo Sikos, every bishop no more go inside, make a lot of fish and chips. I mean, you mean fish and chips is a real problem. If power sale or 1 month, so understanding time, like put on power sale or Chief Building Inspector. But Minister 1 month too. So if power sale go him, by you may got him two problem of his chips here. I mean, what experience you may got him finishing. When it's at the board, our experience so far has been boards have relatively been more robust. So if you were talking about balancing it out, balancing the powers out, I think the boards would be a mitigated risk, a much more minimized risk than having it with the Minister, as is the case here. So it would still be a much better policy outcome option to remove that fella discretion. That word may should be replaced with shall or must. That I suppose is our contention. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister.
You, Leader of Opposition, we'll take note of that, and then we'll see how it goes over the line. Because, I mean, if your fear is buying out all these board members, we have to also understand that some of these developments are billion-dollar investments. Yeah? So if there is a risk of the board closing it down or what, of course, fish and chips can also come into play like that. So like here, where we leave it this way, is that the Minister doesn't have the whole power to do so. He has to act on that fellow may and a little bit limit him. Like if advisable, him look him advisable boarded and then say, oh yeah, I'm through, then he can act on it. But if him look advisable boarded but him little bit no straight, then him may not act on that advice too. That's why we try to balance it out as much as possible.
Thank you, Honourable MP for East Malaitan.
Thank you, Chairman, and who give me a little bit time for talk a little bit too. Chair, Imi gogo Imi said it was Imi no good na. This is how Imi credit Imi lo, Mr. Chairman. And I think what me supposed for like Talem na Minister and this Talem go. I mean, you look at, it's good that Minister may. Yeah? Like board, immunoscience, sometimes board have no act according to what no government policies or government like doing. And that is why minister have to step in. So we have to be
careful and look law things here, Mr. Chairman. And I think, Minister, you're right. You make a right conclusion where you just tell them go late, just finish, go ahead. Yeah, we have. Koko mihera ka mo imi no good na ya. We are leaders, Mr. Chairman. We are leaders. When you become minister, you have to act like responsible minister. You have to do things right there, Mr. Chair. So I mean, I heard about our discussion. It's just like that we don't trust us. We don't trust the board. We don't trust the minister. I think it's something that, Mr. Chair, we have to have that trust. When you have that authority to make decisions. So, Chair, I think with this first time if I walk on bill, I'm minister. Yeah, I know, I'm minister, and the recommendations have come. So that's why the minister may. So I think we keep it that. We keep it on that recommendation. Bills committee for putum come, but I think that's how the minister explained it. Yeah, we still have to give power to the minister. If Koko board hem act law, another way around which hem no follow what now government hem like doing, minister no got power for talent. So I think we leave it that way, Mr. Chair. I'm not one of meeting him. Leaving that minister may act on the advice from the board. May. So as Mr. Shalmo or Hembarawa. So I mean, me just listen come how me the discussion now, Mr. Chairman. That immediately leaders time power you have to act upon your responsibility. So Chair, I think with me, my conscience is straight number that imi live in that. So leader meeting imi go on that on the amendment. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable MP for East Malaita. Honourable West Alari and Chair of BLC.
Thank you, Chairman. Me here from leader of the independent now. Me like cry, but me sorry no. Low you me. Chairman, time you minister, I was an officer. 90s. Imtola officer central. Honor other say also. That time, man, more obligation and responsibility of officers and our leaders. Stand here. Okata officer, they are the technical advisors. You know, minister, you know, make a decision. You go by that decision because they are officers, technical people. That was the time. And me, par happy me, kaka me look him too. Me observe that him to level susway corner. Minister me make a decision on them, okata officers on them, and then him to put him in office and ships here. So, minister, me happy. Let's go back and prove as leader of the independent time. Me man. Next generation, perhaps change me by what perfect winning me now. But let us prove it to them that you too leaders in this honorable house and you make a change here. So let's take our new generation also. But in the past, in the 90s, then if officer here, hey man, you advise, or money listen, or no ignore him. Technical advice from officers. No man. This time now, me observe him the different. Me just make him that comment in contrast and comparison. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Prime Minister.
Thank you, Chairman. Just a final comment on this. I think the policy choice is to have the word may. This is an amendment in the bill, if you look in may number, but the recommendation is the minister may on the advice of the board. So it strengthens the paragraph law there. So, Mr. Chairman, I concur with Ismail later, the leader of the independent group. So for the government, it's a policy choice of using the word may. And it's an improvement. I mean, including go on the advice of the advisory board. First time I may know, but the amendment is on the advice. So that strengthens the paragraph. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Leader of Opposition.
Yeah, thank you. I take the point where Prime Minister Talem and Honorable Leader Blow independence also are important points. And this is a improved version of the amendment, improved version from the original. So there is some balance there. If we go back over where ministerial discretion has been used, by Yumisabe listing some of a case where there's been clear abuse. I can list at least 32 clear abuse. So you may not deny that ministerial discretion, power discretion has been abused in this country. And there is need for balance. That's the point. When we make law for the worst case scenario to prevent it against the basest human instincts. That's why it's important we make sure that the law has balance. So this is a very healthy debate. But the point raised by the Leader of Independent, a very good one too. You may not swing call one extreme, we don't trust anybody now. The onus is of course on those exercising these powers to make sure that they're done in the public interest. In which case, perhaps if you want to retain the may, then there should be a further amendment to then, for minister must explain him decision below him. Something or same would make bar totally transparent. Exercise him and explain it. There's one very good case in point now, Leader of Independence him say that government policy and the board may decide something where cabinet may decide otherwise. Or cabinet now elected government. So government tell him or something, minister must implement him. Even if it is not consistent with him advisory board. So the minister can then justify on this basis now, But I suppose the Fair Law Bills Committee was that because of the abuses that have happened, and we have documented cases of those, that no minister is exempt from these kinds of temptations. It's better to have exercise of powers transparent and restrained and not become arbitrary and ad hoc. But so I just wanted to make that point. But the government's made its position clear. We're sticking with the word may. So,
thank you. Point noted. Honourable Minister, if I put the question, any comments on those observations?
Yes, thank you for all of you and your contributions. Based on the policy, we want to stick with the word may. Taking into consideration that when the rubber hits the road, that's when by identifying some of the flaws and some of the gaps, and then we'll bring it back here for amendment. But all those concerns that you've raised, we've taken them on board, and we'll monitor it closely. Thank you,
Thank you. Let me now put the question. The question is that clause 18 is amended, and in subclause 18.1, by substituting Minister May with Minister May on the advice of the advisory board. All those in favor say aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it. Ayes have it. Clause 18 therefore stands amended accordingly. And before I put the question in respect of clause 8, does any member wish to comment on that clause as amended? All those comments were just conveyed during the discussion on the amendment. So let me now put the question. The question is that clause 18 as amended stand part of this bill. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. I think ayes have it. The ayes have it. Clause 18 as amended therefore stand part of the bill. Part 4. Honourable members, there is an amendment proposed to this clause as appeared on the business paper number 52. And I ask the Minister to move the amendment. Honourable Minister, please.
Thank you, Chairman, sir. I move that in Part 4, the heading NBC Advisory Committee is substituted with NBC Advisory Board, and the word committee, wherever it appears in the bill, is substituted with board. This is based on the recommendation from the Bills and Legislative Committee to put a bit more power to the name itself. So we've taken that recommendation on board and we've changed it from committee to board. Thank you.
Thank you,
Chairman.
Honourable Minister. Any comments on this amendment? Thank you, Honourable MP for Central Honiara.
Yeah, I totally respect and impressed with the recommendation law, bills and legislation on the use of the word board and committee when it appears in the legislation. What's significantly different in the way that you may apply what the terminology is in the legislation, the choice of board and committee, because I don't see any difference no more. Suppose you use him committee and then the power is vested in the legislation, where him similar to the use of board. Because those powers that are vested in those whatever the creatures that you describe him inside the legislation, are more important. Not really the choice of the word of money must be board, this one here commission, this one here what committee, this one council or whatever. You know, it is the powers that him vested in the. But I totally agree with the choice and the recommendation that bills and legislation and give come here. And Minister, and me very happy with you too that you've taken that on board. Problem is that what is the difference about the labels we in the or the creatures here that legislation by creating emotion. Whether him council, what committee, what more him say call him what club or whatever, power input in emotion, and how they exercise those powers. And then so him no more little bit question no more that one before we agree on the that amendment, that one no more emotion. And then because of comment more functions with well money describing law, the other preceding clause one and this one, they are totally different functions. Not be looking there, but anyway, I totally agree with all the amendment that you be doing. That you go forward. That one anymore. The choice we will make him what's magically different law drafting law this one. AG, maybe you shall help me, which labels I mean carry more weight, board, committee, or whatever. I mean. Because functions, meeting may be important. Say, thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Honourable Attorney General.
Don't take it too long. Raising point number.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, MP for Central Honiara and Chairman of Public Accounts Committee. I think the choice of whether you may say committee, commission, or committee or boards, usually commissions is a reference to bodies in the Constitution, but boards and committees usually can mostly not actually mean. But it's just a choice where whoever policy blame that time him like call him, but you're correct. Whatever powers we give them, it might be the same powers in this act. It's for a board, and you're looking at the same powers in another act for a committee, but it's that it's the established body that is empowered by law to exercise that particular function for that particular purpose. Him no more say you may say him what you give him no powers of the body, whether it's a committee, whether it's a board, or whether it's a task force or something, but the powers is what matters. You say. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Honourable Attorney General. Honourable MP for
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, I may accept him now, point where AGM put him come here, but not entirely agree on them. You say that normally under the commission, because we have also other commissions established by state and act of parliament too. One of them, Mansidan calls up look after them. Zero DPM, Telecommunication Commission, emotion. So it's not entirely true that this commission you may label him and more emanated from the constitution legislation, but you may create in our commission too. Emotion. So you change him number money. Yeah, commission blame. Yeah, you may give him a committee no more. Sorry, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, point noted. Out of order.
Oh, yeah.
This one cross-blowing or something. Well, just from a Bills Committee standpoint, why the recommendation for replacing committee with the board, that for recommendation, not just for committee change to board, but that it becomes the building standards board. So it's the technical standards setting board. So it has both professional and statutory authority. That was the basis of the recommendation, Bills Committee. In this instance, the ministry has retained advisory, the word advisory in it. But I mean, in terms of functions, Hemlo there, and again, because in the matter of setting standards, the recommendation law committee was that minister must not garden discretion, because what technical standards here, whether you may adopt them Australian, New Zealand, or Japanese, or whatever standards, but once technical committee or would say by him all same no, then minister no go sense him more. So when they do speak, when they offer their advice on technical matters, it carries both the professional mandate and the statutory mandate. On that basis, now committee may make that recommendation, just for clarity. Thank you.
Thank you for the information. And let me now put the question. The question is that in part 4A, the heading NBC Advisory Committee is substituted with NBC Advisory Board, and the word committee, where it appears in the bill, is substituted with board. All those in favor say aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Part 4, Part 4 heading therefore stands amended accordingly and stands part of the bill. Before I put a question on in respect of Part 4, does any member wish to comment on that heading as amended? I think we dispose of that, and let me therefore put a question. The question is that, sorry, Honourable MP for East Arare.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for indulgence. So on 20, we were just talking earlier no more about advice by the board to the minister. Would it make a difference or make it more meaningful, Attorney General here too, if we put a comma after consult on or 21A to monitor, assess, consult on, comma, and advise? Because we are now putting that advice to the minister in the previous one. All the other functions I see is one that they do themselves, perhaps without the minister, but then comma and then and advise the minister, and that falls in line with what we just adopted. Just wanted to know if that would make a difference and perhaps even more meaningful in terms of the advisory role that they would now have to the minister, and separate that off to the from the consult on. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable MP for East Arara. Just to remind us that actually we on clause 19, you are making reference to those observations in respect to clauses and sub-clauses in clause 20. So let me first of all dispose of clause 19. But clause 19 is, as you would realize, is whole part of this part 4. So I think that's also where you come in. The part 4 inclusive of all other clauses under part 4. But with indulgence, let me perhaps remove, or let us remove clause 19, consider clause 19, so that when you come to clause 20, then you can raise those issues in reference to clause 19. So with your indulgence, I'm going to put the question. Question is that part 4, I think we have disposed of that. Now we'll put a question. The question is part 4 as amended, stand part of the bill. Those in favor, say aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Clause 19, again, we'll take a vote on this clause 19. Does any member wish to comment on this clause before I put a question? I see none, and I will therefore put a question. The question is that clause 19 therefore stand part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye. Sorry, part of the bill.
So, I mean, I'm straight, but time you deal with him, part 4, title, you, that amendment, him go amend them, the rest of where committee appears and replace him with the board, including law 19 there. So therefore 19 stands amended. So when you're putting that question here, it stands amended by that earlier amendment here.
Yes. Okay.
But if you say amend clause 19 no more as this, and you know, and by you.
Right. So which means that all other subsequent clauses that make reference to that will have to be termed as amended and voted on.
Correct.
Okay. So let me put that question here. The clause 19 as amended stands part of the bill. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Clause 19 as amended, therefore stand part of the bill. Clause 20, Honourable MP for East Arare, maybe you may also wish to raise it here. But first of all, I would make an observation here that there is an amendment proposed to this clause as appeared in the business paper or paper number 52. And I ask first of all the Minister to move the amendment. Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Chairman. Sir, I move that clause 20 clause 2 is amended by substituting may on the request of an applicant for permission under with must in ensuring compliance of an applicant to the requirements of section 15 of. Mr. Chairman, this is basically just to make it compulsory for whoever is applying under the Planning and Development Act. So the building code now becomes a requirement under that, the requirements for that you apply go for building permit, law planning and development board. That's what this one is. It's just to marriage the building code with the Planning and Development Act, Cap 154. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Any other wish to comment on this clause before we put the question? Honourable MP for East Arare.
Thank you again, Chair, and thank you for allowing me to make the intervention I was making earlier again. So this is just the idea that we are now looking at the advice to the Minister as one particular role of this board now, and whether it would make sense to put a comma in 21A after consult on, comma, and advice, so that we separate the consult on with the specific role of advising the Minister that we just adopted earlier in terms of directions under clause 18. Just wanted to know if that was helpful or not. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Honourable Attorney General.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, MP for East Arar, for that question. No, it does not make any difference. Basically, intention law, what Parliament has been put on them, is what him guiding interpretation law, the Act. Also, too, that, so if you may read him as it is now, it says, function is 1, to monitor, 2, assess, 3, to consult on, 4, and to advise the Minister. So those, you may read him also what functions under 21 paragraph A. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Honourable Attorney General. Any further questions on that clause? If I put a question. On the amendment, if I put a question. If there is none, let me put a question. The question is that clause 22 is amended by substituting may on the request of an applicant for permission under with must in ensuring compliance of an applicant to the requirements of section 15 of. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Clause 20 as amended stands. It's amended accordingly. Those in favor, please say aye. Sorry, before I put the question, any comment on that amendment? Amended clause. My apologies. Thank you, Honourable.
Time you move on that fellow amendment, did you use the term board instead of committee? Or you say committee?
Because we already amended the heading, reference therefore automatically should, in my opinion.
Yeah, it should, but time you read him, me like here. You tell him board or committee when you read it just now?
I forgot, but I'll read it again.
Oh, good. What was I doing more? And then using board, can we embarrass you?
Because part 4 is already amended and includes board, and therefore subsequently all other references thereon will have to also make reference to the board instead of the committee. That's what you're saying? Right. Okay, so if we begin voting on that clause again, I think I remember saying clause 20 as amended.
Yes.
Right? So that would have automatically made reference to the board and not the committee. It's already substituted by virtue of amendment to part 4.
Yeah, but you read him specific wording here, amendment itself. That's the amendment we are voting on. If you read him that you use him committee more, effectively we're going back more and amend them more earlier, where board and amended for.
Okay, so in subsequent voting on the amended clauses or any clause under part 4, we'll have to ensure that the repetition of amendment
and consistent
with the board as amended. Okay, sorry, thank you. Thank you for the explanation. Honourable MP for Central Honiara.
Chairman, not on the amendment law leader, no me come just law function for this law. Or the question that you were put 20 is amended here. Sorry, the proposed amendment here. Yeah. So, just looking through no more the functions below board here. Pretty powerful board this one. Yeah? For instance, suppose you look below clause 21B Roman enuma. BE, for instance, any other functions conferred by this act to the board. Very powerful body, I must say. Yeah? And now me happy to much of bills and legislation here that they are also basically tightening in more some proposition therefore making strong more the function law board thereby additional something including those ones that the original draft them got in. How me look no more Niki Blobody out man immediate time was straight night. Barba here no. On money going to the boardroom here, full of here, no more was him. Yeah. And in particular when you may edim go more the amendment proposed in subclause 2, where he must ensure compliance long applicant must be compliant with the requirements of section 15. That is already being stated earlier. Yeah? Something here, yeah? So, what was the policy intention in the first place when the board is given their discretion with the application or the choice of that word may? Then this time you may substitute it. I'm not trying to suggest some changes to what another bills in Italian. I just want to find out no more what now the intention in the first place. that May was given there to the board for exercising now, some kind of a discretion, I must say. Because I thought that, even if you live in Mozambique, this will one E or one M, E, yeah, one E. I'm already timed the board here to those functions, I must say. And then another question more. I mean, we have already voted on this, Chairman. You follow me? It's the choice of advisory here to basically giving them the NBC board now. Oh, what do we call it? NBC board straight. Of course, a lot of responsibilities that have been described in there. Advice, but those are statutory advices here, I must say. Why can't we just put them as NBC board now, I must say, or committee? Why regard them as advisory, I must say? Because a lot of the functions that are in here is going to be exercised by this particular board here, I must say. Small thing normal that one. Those two questions here normal. Thank you, Minister. Thank you. You champion here. Thank you, Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Member of Parliament for Central Honia and the Chairman for the Public Accounts Committee. Well, law number 2 here, basically it's just a policy decision. Well, first of all, if I look through ACTA, but there was nothing that made the building code compulsory part of the application. So the inspections were compulsory, but during the application process, it was not compulsory. So the thing was like, no, manya bibil go go halfway through. Then we came and inspect. Then him argue, it's not a law planning and development act. It's not compulsory for me to get it approved based on the national building standards. So that's why here we're making it compulsory, so that it's part of now going forward. The application you submit to the provincial government or HCC, it's going to be compulsory. That it has to meet the standard of the building code. I hope that's clear. And come back, legislative board there. We've spoke length about it, and the opposition leader explained it thoroughly. And for us as well, we feel that it's a policy decision that we change it, go law, the NBC advisory board. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Honourable Minister.
Chairman, just in terms of the functions belong to this fellow board now. So you got 1A, B, then B, B1, 2, 3, then C, D, E. Those do not, well, it's almost as if they assume, because Bayumi based in NBCL or Australian New Zealand standards or international standards, rather than from time to time they may be below UMI's level. So, for example, I was expecting under the functions below board for him say the board by him well not established standards, but because by him advising minister, then minister now him by regulation publishing more standards in the National Building Code. B1 him say provide proposals to the minister for new or amended policies and procedures relating to the NBC. So here there is an existing NBC, B1. It's assumed that it's already in pre-existence. And so any new or amended policies, no more, and procedures. But not standards themselves. And then, of course, Lot 2 him talk about amendments to the NBC, but right at the beginning here, the policy position is you may start with him Australian New Zealand standards no more, and then any amendments now you may start domesticate him for context below you mean. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Leader of Opposition. Thank you, Chairman. So for the new amendments and policies and procedures relating to the NBC, that's basically, so all the standards are within the building code. They're all registered in here. So basically, the thing is the standards, they change over time. as soon as anything happens or there's a disaster, they find that, oh, this one wasn't, the grade of steel not really suitable for seismic zone or so. So about changing more concrete, so they constantly change it. So that's why the function of the board is to advise the minister on changing the standards within the National Building Code. And of course, yes, as we, over time, when they identify the gap where using Australian standards on certain building materials or buildings, too expensive and not necessary, law context for Solomon, then we can also amend those to be a more flexible ones also.
Thank you, Honorable Leader of Opposition.
Yeah, thank you. So therefore, we're dealing with technical matters now. Also, we wish to say, in technical matters, the policy preference is that there is no ministerial discretion. The minister is always acting on the advice of the technical board, which is the NBC Advisory Board. So when we get to 2B, to provide proposals to the minister on these technical matters. So what technical matters here? There should not be proposals. They should be advice that the minister is compelled to act on. But you may put some proposals here. Me thinking of some loan proposal, me give him go lot bank or leles, give him sell all way. No more me thinking of this one. Minister got too much discretion for him. Just the use of the word proposals. The word proposals implies that for discretion. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Attorney General. Thank you, Honorable Attorney General.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Leader of the Official Opposition, for that question. Clause 20, subclause 1, paragraph B, is a reference to a policy, policy matters. So, I mean, in line with the minister is the head of policy on this one. So, you may give him a proposal for him adopting first time, then it becomes part of the adopted policy looking for change follow. So it's a recognition of the functions of the minister and the constitution, basically him policy man blow. So you will provide those proposals to him for him to adopt in this regard. So it's not really say that this what you propose will become the technical matter. Say you propose him adopt him, then the board becomes the implementing body in this regard. Then, like as you used telling earlier on, also too that the discretionary nature has limits to it too, so boundaries we have exercising. So it doesn't mean that you give him by him, the minister might refuse or he might think otherwise. Whatever he agrees to must also be in line with his powers as provided for under the Act 2. Him cannot go over that one too. So those are the safeguards you may put them in place law, this Act. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Attorney General. Honorable Leader of Opposition.
Thank you, sir. This fella elucidation from the Honorable Attorney General, it makes sense to law 21B1, because they talk about policies, procedures. But when you talk about 21B2 and 3, those are standard setting powers below, functions below board there. And in those standard setting matters, really, when the advisory board is giving advice, it's not proposals anymore, it's advice. And you don't want the minister having discretion on those technical matters. So perhaps maybe B1 should be on its own, and then 2 and 3 separate more now, a new C or a new something also. On the technical matters, really, this is a very important policy position where Minister already told himself that you must protect him. So I think those two, B2 and 3 and now should be separated. On those matters, Minister must act on the advice of the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Attorney General.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Leader of the Official Opposition, for that also a question. I take your point. One makes specific reference to policies now. Rest two, so before we amend a code, in this sense, you'd have to have a policy for stamp two for something. So that's basically how it's read. So before we adopt an amendment to the code, the reasons for that will become a policy decision for government of the day too for him. So that's why it's there. And international building standards, Section 12 law interpretation in General Provisions Act him say that any interpretation of any laws you're starting with what international obligation so that's why it comes back to the minister as well for him that yes, this is our international obligation under a certain act, or Minister of Foreign Affairs might be the one saying that in cabinet that yes, that's correct, we have ratified or sent it to this convention on building materials, for example, and so based on that we adopt it, and then it trickles down below. Board for him starting Wakable. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Attorney General.
Chairman, so I note the explanation by the Honorable Attorney General. If we go down that line, then there is no place in the bill whatsoever where on matters of standard setting, the technical advice law board the standard setting one where minister must act to him. Then there is nowhere more no him talk about that one. So the matter of setting standards really a matter of board here, and the minister for gazetting acting on their advice. Yeah? So if you mean that would be missing. So explanation law AG hemi good, but meaning therefore we need another amendment more to make him clear on matters of the National Building Code itself, standard setting, no any discretion. Minister must act on compulsion or on advice board.
Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Leader of Opposition. Yes, I think you've raised a very important point. However, here, it doesn't say that the Minister ban or listen over that one. And of course, it doesn't say that he must act on that one. So I think for now, we just leave it as it is, and then down the track when we implement this bill and see how reluctant the Minister is, or then we can amend it. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Leader.
I would urge the Minister, Mr. Chairman, you M430, so you may adjourn, suspend, you dissolve a committee here, then you may adjourn for today, then 12 go welcome quick amendment, then you suspend them standing order, move them. This is the heart of the matter. The heart of this bill is standard setting. This is the Building Standards Act bill to become act. So the heart of it is the standards. The standards has to be protected, and the power to set it, and the power to promulgate or to do the regulation for Gazette Marosem, it must be bar of clear now. It's not something where you may make them go first time, and Mr. Stratton and come back amend it. No, I think really it should be amended now.
Thank you, Honorable Attorney General.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Leader of the Official Opposition, for those way forward. But also, I'm just like pointing out also to that the power minister, which is couched in a mandatory term, clause 8, yeah? Clause 8, him say that clause 8 sub clause 2, the minister must ensure that enforce may amend the NBC and must review the content and operation of NBC at least once every 5 years. So review will come every 5 years, but you must make sure it remains info and amend him based on the advice of the board. So there is power in there for us to do that. But I guess the point of Leader of the Official Opposition is to have an explicit provision in there. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Attorney General. Honorable Leader of Opposition.
You may finish, make him 12 o'clock tomorrow. Make him bar, come suspend him standing order, move him amendment without notice, or you may bar strengthen him. Because clause 8, me true, but me general. Me assuming that advice coming through, the administrative mechanism with it and so forth. Otherwise, when it comes to that core one there, they merely proposals to the minister. It must be more than that.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Attorney General, if you wish to comment on that. So the next step is for me for us to again go through this later. I can interrupt the proceedings of the committee. Honorable Attorney General. Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Leader of Opposition. I think with those remarks, I think we will work on an amendment. However, we request the Chairman that if we continue and then we'll vote on the amendment after it's brought before us, if that's okay.
Is that procedurally possible? You work on the amendment after the passage of the proposed amendments. Here, although it has not taken into cognition the points raised, can you bring another amendment to an amendment?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think just for you make clear here, an amendment to is usually when it's already set. Okay. So it's not yet actually set yet. So we can do the changes now before it becomes voted on. Then it becomes set now. You have to touch him one. That's when the amendment is, but by House have to amend him back something that them already passing. In this case, it's still a clause in a bill, and it's that's why we are able to do this. But once it's voted on, then we can't.
Okay, so I'll call a question on this now. No?
So don't call a question, you may finish, make out work for him. Okay. So when they bring it tomorrow, I'm still part law amendment where you may talk about it. Then when we vote on it, I'm just what I said. At the moment, I'm still a draft.
Thank you. And so with those observations and comments, I will now interrupt the proceedings of the committee. And the proceedings of the committee is therefore suspended for now, and Parliament will resume. Thank you. Parliament is resumed. Honorable Prime Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move that Parliament do now adjourn.
Thank you. Honorable members, it's moved that the Parliament is now adjourned. All those in favour say aye. Those against say no. Thank you. Parliament accordingly is adjourned until 9:30 a.m. on 15th August 2024. Thank you.